But what you're really doing with all your marketing is you're planting seeds. And if you can plant seeds in as many locations as possible, you're almost guaranteed to have a bigger harvest. If you can plant them over here in this area, if you can, dig an area over here and plant them over there, you're going to eventually have an abundant harvest for yourself. And that's what marketing is all about. It's planting little seeds here and there.
Hey there, and welcome to the Event Crushed podcast. Each week, we'll be chatting about all things wedding industry, entrepreneurship, and how to crush it in life and business. I'm so glad you're here. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. Hello there, and welcome back to the Event Crushed podcast. This is your host, Becky, and I hope you're having a wonderful week so far. Today's episode is extra special because I'm sitting down with someone who has been a huge influence in my business over the last year and a half, and it's my very own coach and mentor, Candice Coppola. Candice is a powerhouse in the wedding industry, from her years as a luxury planner and designer to becoming a sought-after business coach for wedding pros. She is the host of the Power and Purpose podcast, which hopefully y'all are listening to. And she's also the creator of incredible coaching programs like the Wedding Pro Insiders Mastermind that I am a part of. And she's just a total expert in what it takes to run a successful business in the wedding industry. In this episode, we are diving into one of her areas of expertise, which is email marketing for wedding pros. And we're going to be talking about why it is an untapped gold mine for wedding pros, how to get started if this is new to you, and how it can completely change the way that you connect with your audience. Candice is sharing all of her best tips for getting started with email marketing, and I think that you are going to leave this episode feeling inspired and ready to start growing your list. So with that, I cannot wait for you to hear this conversation. So let's dive right in. Well, hello, Candice. Welcome to the show. I am so excited for this conversation. And I feel pretty confident that my listeners will be familiar with you. But for anyone who's listening and maybe they don't know who you are, could you just share a bit about yourself and what you do in the wedding industry?
I would love to. And thank you so much, Becky, for inviting me on your show. I'm so excited to talk to you today. And I love the topic that you picked. We're going to have a really great time talking about this. And I just appreciate being on your show. So thank you for having me. I'm Candice. I'm a business coach for wedding pros. I've been in this industry forever. I'm a former wedding planner and designer turned business coach. I mentor women in the wedding industry, all facets of the industry, planners, photographers, you name it. I love to support women and help them grow a profitable business with purpose. And I have some coaching programs, courses, other great things that help you grow your business. And I also have a podcast too called The Power and Purpose.
Amazing. Yeah. And as someone who is a part of your Wedding Pro coaching program, I can speak to how fantastic it is. Well, I just thought you would be the best person to talk about email marketing with because I just think you're an expert in this area. I remember listening to your podcast. You had a kind of a series on newsletters and email marketing. And so I thought you would be a great person to talk to. And I know that probably like a good amount of my listeners don't have an email list. I think it's so important. And I wanted to make sure that I brought in like the right person to talk about it.
Well, I think you did. I feel really good about this topic. I love talking about this.
Yes. So for anyone who's listening and, they don't have an email list, they don't have any kind of newsletter, like they're at ground zero. I guess I just want to start with why should wedding pros care about email marketing, especially if they've had their business for years, like they've been doing just fine without it. So why should they start now?
Well, it's such a great question. And I think we have to establish that baseline because what's the point if it's not going to do anything for your business, or it could just be one of those shiny objects that you chase in marketing and not get the kind of results that you had hoped for. I think email marketing is such an underdog. It's like the dark horse of marketing. And I'm going to give you two reasons why I absolutely love it for wedding pros. Reason number one might be obvious, and reason number two I think is going to be a little less obvious. The first reason why I love it and why you should care about it is that social media is just getting noisier and noisier and noisier. And it's just harder to really stand out. I think your competition might be getting better and better at social media, which makes it harder and harder for you to keep up. It's hard to reach your ideal clients. It's noisy. You are at the mercy of algorithms, which means you have to put out content that people want to watch, and you have to do all these crazy things, and it can feel really difficult to edge out on social media with your marketing, and just exhausting. Honestly, I hear from so many wedding pros just how exhausting social media is to keep up with. And you started your business because you love what you do, not because you're a content creator. So for all my friends out there who've been in business for 10 years or around that mark, like, you started your business before social media was really a big thing. And now it seems like it runs everything and it takes up so much time. So I think email marketing is a way to balance your marketing overall. If you're marketing on social, email marketing is going to give you a sustainable marketing channel to really dive into. So there's that. But I also think you should care about email marketing because it's not as saturated as social media. And I can probably say with some assurity that your competition isn't using email marketing, because not a lot of wedding pros use email marketing yet. And so this is kind of like a wide open space for you to market your business and to create connections with potential clients right in their inbox. And I think that's why it's the dark horse.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, it is definitely underutilized. And I think that on its own just gives you, like you said, it gives you a leg up because your competitors probably aren't doing it. And so that's going to make you stand out, especially if you have a newsletter geared towards engaged couples and they come on your site and they sign up, and then you start sending them like helpful wedding planning advice. And then, they went to another person's website, but they're not getting those emails from them. Like, hello, they're going to remember you.
Yep. You just hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's how email marketing works. It's about staying top of mind and creating a connection with someone. And what better way to stay top of mind and create a connection than to actually get their email address and be able to email them and talk to them in a way that they've actually invited you to have a conversation with them in.
Yeah. And in the way that you were talking about social media, with that, it's like we think we're staying top of mind because we're posting and we're like, oh, I did my post for today, so I'm staying top of mind. But like the vast majority of your followers aren't even seeing that. So you're not really staying top of mind. But with your newsletter, like it's going directly into their inbox.
Yeah, it's a stronger poke, it's a stronger way to really get in front of somebody and to be able to create that connection. So you're exactly right. And that's why I absolutely love it.
Yes. Okay. So what are some common misconceptions that wedding pros might have about email marketing and newsletters in general?
Yeah, I've several, but there are a couple that I hear most often. And first is that you have to email people all the time. So it's like what I'm inviting you to do is going to be more time consuming than just posting on social media or some of the other marketing workflows that you have. And you don't have to email people all the time. You don't have to have a weekly newsletter. You don't have to have a newsletter at all with email marketing. There are so many different strategies that you can use. And in fact, I would tell you to start with a strategy that's more like an automated sequence that goes out when someone opts in to hear from you, and it just happens automatically. And you write it once, you set it up once, and then it just happens for you in the background. So one big misconception is you have to have a newsletter or you have to email people all the time. That's not true. The second misconception is that you're going to be bothering people by emailing them. And I mean, sure, you might annoy somebody, but really that's just kind of par for the course in marketing in general and in business ownership in general. You can't control that. And that's why there's that really nice unsubscribe button. So anybody who's like, you know what, I don't really want to get Candice's emails anymore can be like, I unsubscribe. And you're welcome back anytime you want. But you're not bothering people. When people opt in to hear from you, they want to hear from you. They're saying, hey, listen, I'm interested in what you're selling, or I'm interested in having this conversation. So you're not necessarily bothering anybody. And in fact, you could be helping someone. You could be helping somebody buy the solution to their problem, or find the right vendor that they've been searching for, or finally make a decision about their wedding by hiring you or purchasing your products.
Yeah, those are great points. And it's so true. Like someone has to opt in and make a decision to be on your newsletter. And maybe they decide down the road that they don't want to anymore. And that's fine. And I've had to kind of be okay with seeing that like unsubscribed, and it's totally normal. And the other thing that you said that I loved was just the idea that like you don't need a newsletter, because I think that's what everybody assumes is like, oh my gosh, if I start getting into email marketing, then I have to put out a consistent newsletter. And I don't know how I can create the content to put out a regular newsletter. But like you said, if you're focusing more on that initial sequence, that is so much more powerful. So can we just stop and talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
Like, especially for someone who has never set any of this up before and they're just getting started. Could you maybe walk us through like kind of the first steps that someone should take? And then maybe what could that initial sequence look like?
Yeah, great question. If you're just getting started with email marketing, the first thing I tell you to do is actually just go join some other people's email lists to see how they're emailing their list. And you can go to Becky's and join Becky's email list if you're not already. And now she's like, okay, now I'm going to really have to start emailing my list, which we'll talk about on a coaching call, I'm sure. But you can go get on Becky's list. You can come jump on mine, download one of my freebies, or go and opt in to hear my story about how I met Beyonce. Get on someone's list and just see how they're emailing you. And pay more attention to the strategy that they're imploring in the email and use it as an opportunity to kind of like hack their business strategy. Once you can start getting some emails and you can see what it's like to get those emails, then I think what you can do is easily ask yourself, how can I apply this to my business? And how can I create an opportunity for someone to opt in and get some emails from me? And I have a few ideas for opt-ins. I actually have a freebie that I'll share with Becky where you can go and download 10 opt-ins for wedding pros. I love a quiz. I love a PDF or something that people want to download or want to take, like a quiz. The goal with your opt-in is to just pick something that people want to download, and to pick something that people want to download right before they would be in the market to hire someone like you. If you're a planner, then you actually have a pretty wide open opportunity to capture a lead. You could capture them closer to their wedding and sell them event management, or you could capture them at the very beginning before they've even picked a venue and they're stressed about where to get married. If you're a photographer, you have a kind of short window. So you're one of the first vendors that couples hire. Sometimes they plan their entire wedding around your date, your availability. So if you're a hot commodity and if that's kind of what people do, then you want to create something that captures somebody in their journey right before they're looking for a photographer or as they're looking for a photographer. That's a little piece of strategy for an opt-in. But the goal with email marketing is to get people to give you their email address. And it's more than just signing up for their newsletter, because we really don't want somebody's newsletter. We want, a download, or for you to tell us about ourselves, or for you to give us advice. Or like me, to tell you my story about how I met Beyonce. You're probably thinking, oh, what's that all about? Well, opt in and I'll tell you. So people want to hear information, stories. There needs to be a trigger, and that's what your opt-in needs to do. This opt-in freebie that I have for you will give you some ideas. But once they opt in, our goal is to have a conversation with them and to nurture them into purchasing something from you. And this will depend on what you do, but we call this a nurture sequence, and it's really powerful. It is written once, and then you create the emails in your email service provider like Flowdesk or ConvertKit or something like that. You put a time delay between the emails, a few days or a week, and those emails automatically get sent to anybody who opts in to hear from you and gets added to that workflow. So it's happening without you doing anything. And its purpose is to help accelerate the know, like, and trust factor, which is part of the buyer journey in marketing. In order for somebody to say, hey, I want to book you for your photography services, They first have to know you. They have to know who you are. Then they have to like you. So they have to feel comfortable around you. You have to maybe share something in common or, they like your personality. They like your style. And then they have to trust you because we don't buy from anybody that we don't trust. And what email marketing allows you to do is take people on a journey in your nurture sequence to accelerate that know, like, and trust. And you'll create emails that introduce yourself, introduce your expertise, maybe show somebody around your business a little bit. Maybe it helps them overcome something. And then you're going to ask them to buy from you. You're going to say, my 2025 calendar is booking up. I'd love to photograph your wedding. Click here to learn more about my pricing. Click here to book a consultation. And that's the power of email marketing. It's like a automated but customized buyer journey. And you get to set the tone and also figure out the kind of conversation you want to have there.
Yeah, such great information. And hopefully will just help people to understand that it is attainable and that there is so much value behind it. And it's not just this other thing that I have to do, it can be so worthwhile because you can sell with your email list potentially, much better than you can via social media. And if you can get that initial nurture sequence set up, then it's just running, behind the scenes, and you're not having to do the work of sending a weekly newsletter necessarily. You can just kind of set that up and then it's doing the work for you, which I think is so cool.
It is. It's a marketing machine that you're setting up. And every wedding pro deserves to have sustainable marketing alongside the quick, fast marketing that we all kind of have to do in today's world that we can't really avoid, especially in the wedding industry. Because if you're not on social media, it's a red flag alert. People are like, wait a minute. They're not on social media. That's kind of weird. Everybody's on social media, right? And you might actually lose business by not maintaining a presence on social media or being erratic with your presence on social media. So in my mind, if you could have a more balanced marketing strategy and it includes email marketing, then that means that you don't need to be constantly on social media or posting 4 times a week. You could post once or twice a week. That's consistent enough. That's relevant enough. But you have other marketing channels that are bringing really qualified leads to you.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing about the freebie with the 10 opt-ins. I'll make sure to link that in the show notes so everybody can go grab that and get on your email list.
Yay.
Perfect. How do wedding pros grow their email list? It's okay, cool. Yeah. Once they're on the list and then I set up this nurture sequence and that's all fine and dandy. But how do I get the people on my list? So do you have some ideas?
So I do. I have so many because that's also part of the strategy is you can't just create something and then tell nobody about it. Well, and that's what a lot of small business owners do is it's you spend all the time creating the thing behind the scenes and tinkering and learning and buying a course and watching all the videos. You're going to get this email list set up, but then you set it up and you tell absolutely nobody about this. And so of course, nobody opts in to hear from it because they don't know it exists. Part of having a successful email marketing strategy is making sure that you tell people about whatever your opt-in is. Let's use a quiz as an example, which is one of my favorite opt-ins. Quizzes are so fun. And in the wedding industry, there's so many different types of quizzes you could make. Think about the last time you took an online quiz and it told you something about yourself. You probably had fun answering the questions. The results hopefully made you laugh or made you feel seen or heard. You could essentially do the same with a quiz opt-in for yourself. The goal is to get people to take it. And you can do that on your website by making sure that you tell people about this quiz so they go and take it. You can obviously share it on social media. So this can become sort of a content bucket for you, making it easy to share on social media something and driving traffic to your email list. But those are kind of expected places where we would automatically, maybe naturally think to put that. One of my favorite ways to grow my email list is to use SEO. And I'm sure Becky has talked to you about SEO on the podcast. And Becky is really good at SEO. And in fact, when she started her business, she was blogging and using SEO to help drive traffic to her website. This is a skill that she invested in early on in her career. I mean, I'm busting open your files and telling everybody about you, but it's true. You did. It was one of the facts about you that I loved when we first met. I was like, oh, she gets it. And that's because SEO is really important in business, especially in the wedding industry where searches are dominating a lot of how people find their vendors. And you can easily insert your quiz into your blog posts and get people to take your quiz. You might even write blog posts that are adjacent to your opt-in. So for instance, if you have if you're a wedding planner and you have a guide for like the best venues in your city, you could write some blog posts that would bring traffic in around keywords or questions regarding venues in your city. And then you pitch this great guide that you've created. People are naturally going to download that. And they're qualified as a customer because they're searching your city that you operate in and wedding venues. So you've just vetted this lead and you have a really qualified, but also expensive lead to try to capture through other marketing means. And what I mean by that is like, this is potentially a high value, high quality customer who could spend thousands of dollars in your business. And all you had to do was use a little chat GPT, understand how SEO works, and post a blog post.
That's super cool. I honestly, like, as you're saying that, I'm like, yeah, blog post, totally. But I haven't utilized that for my opt-in yet. Well, recently anyway, but it made me think. Now. Yes. But it made me remember way back when in my career, I was wanting to really get into like kids' birthday parties. And I made this whole PDF guide of like local vendors and venues for kids' birthday parties with like all these photos from my daughter's birthday party. And I created a blog post of the photos from that party. And then at the end, I said, put in your email address and I'll send you this guide. And it was awesome. Like it was great. But that was so many years ago. And I haven't even thought about doing that since then. So I needed this reminder.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you can even have a landing page for your opt-in. So we'll go back to this venue guide, which is such a smart actual opt-in or lead magnet is what we would also call it. So if you're curious about any of the terms that Becky and I are using for email marketing, I also have a little cheat sheet, an email marketing lingo cheat sheet that you can find on my website. And I'll give Becky the link so you can go ahead and download that. We use the term opt-in or lead magnet interchangeably, but for wedding planners, I love this idea of this venue guide. And you can easily see how that can bring in really qualified leads to your business and how SEO can help bring people to you. So you can create a landing page for this guide, and you'll see a landing page for my cheat sheet and some of my other opt-ins. So you can see what that looks like when you go to put your name and email address in. But you can even make that like a little mini page that ranks on Google. And that can just bring in leads for you without you having to write a blog post. But I do recommend doing both.
Okay. Yeah. I love it. It's an excellent idea. Okay. So you have kind of broken down some ways that we can get subscribers and get people onto our list. Can you just share a little bit about how we can use email marketing to help nurture those relationships?
Oh, that's a great question. I think there's so many opportunities that can be really unique to what you do in the wedding industry. For instance, if you're a photographer, then you could use email marketing to sell family shoots or other shoots that you might offer in your off season. You could also use it to sell products like prints, albums, holiday cards, so you can touch base with all your clientele there. If you're a planner, you could use email marketing as sort of a way to assert your expertise and also your opinions on what's trending, what you're currently maybe obsessed with style-wise for weddings, and build yourself up as a tastemaker. Maybe email your list once a month with a newsletter if you feel like, hey, I'm totally in this kind of like Martha Stewart newsletter vibe. I would love to be, have a newsletter. You could totally do that and use it as a vehicle to share your opinions, to share style tips, to share some things that you think are trending, even to share recipes or, something that is meaningful to you. I know personally, I'm a part of a few email lists, obviously, And I get emails. My favorite emails are ones where people just share something personal about themselves or share a recipe or share a link to something that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the conversation we're having, but it certainly makes me feel connected to them. So there are a lot of different ways that you can use email marketing outside of just lead capture and lead gen. I do love it as a way to touch base with your vendors too. Maybe you send out a quarterly state of the industry or what you've been up to newsletter to wedding vendors in your area who have opted in, of course, to hear from you. We're not going to just add people because we know them. They need to say, hey, I want to get your emails. But outside of that, there's so much that you can do. But this is all just top of mind status. And you might think, well, is it really worth it for me to every month send out a newsletter? But what if I told you that that newsletter goes to 250 people every month? And of those 250 people, you have vendors, you have past clients, you have potential clients. And what you're doing is you're just saying like, hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm here. Here's the cool work that I'm doing. Here's something that I'm interested in. Here's a reminder of how you can work with me. And out of those 250 people, at least one person is going to go to your website, is going to maybe forward your email to a friend, or is going to talk to you, talk about you positively to someone else. And if that could lead to a $10,000 job, I'm pretty sure you would spend 3 hours writing your monthly newsletter to get that job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's worth it.
No kidding. Absolutely. Yeah. That's such a good way to think about it. It doesn't need to be thousands of people on your list. Like you said, if you have 250 people and one person ends up making that connection and then recommends you to someone that ends up booking you, I mean, that makes it all worthwhile. And I love the idea too that you mentioned just how our newsletter can help them feel connected to us and having it like even the idea of sharing a personal story or an anecdote or something that is just relatable. Cause I feel like people just love like any kind of relatable content that makes it feel like, oh, she gets it. Or like, I've been in that exact position. Like that kind of connection, I think goes a long way. And then people will remember you later on when they're making some kind of buying decision or needing to book a certain vendor. They're going to be like, oh yeah, she shared that great story and I connected with her. And so she's the first one to come to mind.
You're 100% right. Marketing is just about planting seeds. And I think sometimes we expect to post on Instagram and get flooded with inquiries. I can remember when I launched my business, my website, like back in the dark ages, I thought once it went live, I thought like I was going to get like bum rushed by all these people who were going to be like finding my website and like emailing me. So like you hit publish on it and you just sit back and you wait for the avalanche that never comes.
If only.
If only it were that simple. But I think sometimes we bring that mentality to our marketing a lot where we post on Instagram and if we don't get instant feedback or gratification, we feel like we're failing or that nobody's seeing it or nobody's doing anything. But what you're really doing with all your marketing is you're planting seeds. And if you can plant seeds in as many locations as possible, you're almost guaranteed to have a bigger harvest. If you can plant them over here in this area, if you can, dig an area over here and plant them over there, you're going to eventually, hopefully have an abundant harvest for yourself. And that's what marketing is all about. It's a planting little seeds here and there. And you unfortunately don't have as much control over when those seeds take root and how quickly they grow and how quickly they fruit or bear fruit or, whatever, bloom. You don't have control over that per se. Nature has to take its course. But when they do start to take root and when they do start to grow, they can grow really rapidly. And then that's when you get to enjoy all the fruits of your labor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the seed analogy and just the whole idea behind that. I think it's so like encouraging because sometimes it feels like we're out here just planting all these seeds and we're like watering them like as we're posting on social media. It's like we're watering the seeds and we're doing all these things. And then when you don't see it growing the way that you want to, but like you have no idea what's going on, like the roots that are taking hold under the ground because you can't see that. You are just waiting for the thing to like sprout out of the ground. So you don't know what's going on under the soil. So I just love that kind of an analogy. And then at any point, like you said, somebody could be receiving your newsletter for weeks or months or years before they finally end up buying something.
Oh, yeah.
And in the same way, someone could be like following you on social media for years before they ever end up hiring you. Like, that's just the way it is.
Oh, yeah. I hear that all the time. In fact, it's so flattering. People are saying, like, people say to me, I followed you for years. I've listened to your podcast for years, but I've never had a conversation with them. I didn't know them. I did recognize them in my followers. I never saw them in my inbox. And I mean, it's so flattering to hear, but you just never know who's paying attention. And just because people aren't liking your post or sharing it or responding to every email that you send out, just because people aren't doing that all the time doesn't mean that you're not breaking through with your message, that you're not breaking through with your marketing.
Yes. Yeah. And it's so true. It's so true. I want everyone to, I know, but it's such an important message. And I had a very similar experience. The first person who hired me for my planner mentorship, when she came to me, she said, I've been following you on Instagram for years. Like, I literally have just been following everything that you've been doing. And like, she was so sweet, but she never, as far as I knew, like, liked my post, or like, I didn't know, you know what I mean? Like, I never knew that she was following along with me, but she was so quick to sign up for that because she had been like just a loyal follower all these years. So it was so cool. And you never know who that could be for you. So
you don't. And I like to, this is a hard practice for me too, because I often feel defeated with marketing. I think it's just human nature. You pour your heart and soul into stuff and you don't always get back what you thought you were going to get back from it, or you don't get the response or, the likes. And it can, honestly, it can feel really defeating. And I often have to remind myself that, like, I do this, first of all, because I love it and I want to help people. And I don't help people by staying quiet or by not showing up. And that I have to remember that there's somebody out there who is listening, reading, watching, who is truly getting value out of this conversation. And that's who I do it for. And so it pushes me on the days where I don't feel like marketing, or on the days where I don't feel like recording a podcast or writing an email, to push myself, because marketing is like an iceberg. The likes you get or the responses you might get are just the tip of all the people who are paying attention to you at any given time. And you never know what post, what email, what marketing that you put out is the thing that gets somebody to actually take action.
Yeah. Oh, it's so true. So true. Yeah, you can't help somebody if you're not using your voice to speak up. And maybe the next post you share, the next message that you have is going to be like exactly what somebody needs to see, in order to book you, or to just like help them get through their day. I mean, we have no idea what kind of impact we're having when we share our story and our messages. So
it's so true. And I will tell you, some of the larger names that you might follow or people you might be familiar with, even influencers, you might feel like their responses are always so big, but I promise you that their iceberg is just like yours, and you're just seeing a tip of the iceberg. Their audiences are massive, and they're not getting even, maybe 10% of their entire audience's engagement. And they're going through the same stuff we go through when it comes to marketing, feeling like a failure, feeling like an imposter, or feeling like they're doing it all for nothing.
Yeah, that's a really good reminder. I think, we all share that. Nobody's immune from it, unfortunately. No matter how big you get or how much of an influencer status you have, I'm sure everyone deals with it in some regard.
Yeah, for sure. I know so, because I know some people's businesses behind the scenes, and I can tell you, that's the case. And just remember, likes are not paying your bills. What pays your bills is people taking action. And oftentimes action takers aren't likers. They're passive, they're consuming, but they're not always the loudest, and they're not always constantly giving you positive affirmation.
Yes. Yeah. Such good reminders. Well, I love that whole like direction we went down there with marketing.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. But I do have a couple more questions specific to email marketing. So what are some common mistakes that you see wedding pros making with their email marketing that maybe we can hopefully avoid?
Yes. First mistake is not emailing your list. So there's nothing quite like signing up to hear your newsletter and then never hearing from you. which I'm sure somebody listening right now is like, yep, that is me. If you are paying for email marketing software, even if you're using the free version of it, and you want to adopt this, you need to email your list. You have to get over your fear of that. And the best thing to do is to create those nurture sequences that we talked about. So that's the first mistake, is just not emailing your list. The second mistake is not approaching email marketing with the strategy that we've talked about today. I see a lot of photographers do a lead magnet that's like 10 tips for a first look, or 20 things to pack for your wedding day photography, for like your getting ready photography. And I mean, those are really great tools to have, but when somebody's downloading that, they already have a photographer. So when somebody's packing their wedding day, styling kit for their wedding, they already have a photographer. They're not looking for somebody a week out from their wedding or 2 weeks out from their wedding. So you can see how it's important for you to choose something that puts you in front of a lead at the right time in their journey, not late in their journey where they've already booked somebody and they're not going to hire you. So that's important. Also, just remembering we're location-based. For the most part, we're location-based businesses, which means that when we approach email marketing, we should try to approach it from the perspective of how can I draw people to me and qualify that they are getting married in my location, or they serve the need, they're the niche that I serve. And that's why I love that venue guide, because it brings you right to the location. So you're very qualified. You get very qualified leads. But those are some of the common mistakes that I see wedding pros making with their email marketing. Not segmenting your list is another one, but that's like email marketing level 3. I don't want to scare you off from it. I just want you to get started, because if you get started and if you start to understand how email marketing works, then you'll dig a little bit deeper and you'll do a little bit more and a little bit more. The last thing I want you to do is be like, yep, that's confusing. And it's exactly why I don't do email marketing. So I don't want to confuse you, but that's like a level 3, level 4 kind of email marketing mistake that people make, is not segmenting your list.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that I only just did fairly recently. So
well, there you go. Actually, I remember us talking about that. I'm like, you should have this segment and this segment. And you were like, I absolutely should. And I'll just share with those listening what I mean by this, so that you know this level 3 tip. But for your email list, you want to segment your list. You want to basically find ways to group people together based on a commonality. A very common segment would be, these are wedding vendors over here, and these are couples. And so now when you're emailing your list, you can write emails directly to the couples, and then you can omit all the vendors because it doesn't apply to them. And when you write an industry-based email, you email that to your vendors, and maybe you exclude all the people who are engaged in getting married. So that is a really simple way to segment your list, but there are some more advanced ways to segment your list. And think about it like this. If you could post on Instagram and then guarantee that that post was only seen by a certain group of people, and that would increase your chances of speaking to them directly and getting and going all in on the topic that you're talking about. If you could guarantee that, wouldn't you do that? And that's what segmenting is in email marketing.
Yeah, that's such a great way to think about it. Thank you for breaking that down for us. Yeah. I know that is a little bit like 2.0. I figured this would be kind of the basics, and then maybe you come back someday and we do another one.
Let's do it. I'm all for it. I should do like an email marketing course or something for wedding pros.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that you haven't yet.
I know. I'll add it to the list.
Yes. Oh, okay. Well, this is so helpful. I just have a couple more questions as we kind of wrap up here. I know you mentioned earlier people signing up for my list, which would be much appreciated. And I will definitely be linking that, because I would love everybody to sign up. So yes, that would be amazing. But what are some of your favorite email lists to be a part of? Like, could you share a couple that maybe would be inspiring to my audience?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, definitely sign up for Becky's email list, because Becky's recently she's been sending out some really, really, really great emails and recapping her podcast. You'll never miss an episode. She'll email you highlights so you can say like, yes, I definitely want to listen to that. And you can queue it up. So definitely get on Becky's email list. I would say come on my email list. I think I do a good job. I have a weekly newsletter actually, and we call it the Insider's Note. This is something kind of new that we've started over maybe the last 3 months. And I just share 2 things that are really top of mind for me. And sometimes it relates to a way that I can help you solve a problem if you hire me. And then sometimes it's fun stuff like, here's my favorite skincare product that you need to buy. So it's really fun. So come on my email list. But one of my favorite email lists to be on is a mentor of mine, and her name is Laura Belgray. She's a copywriter, and she has nothing to do with the wedding industry. She's like the farthest thing from the wedding industry. But her emails are really great to get because she is a storyteller. She's a writer. She used to write for television. And she writes some of the funniest, relatable emails about pretty much anything. And she also is an expert at email marketing, of course. And I love getting her emails because it's a reminder that storytelling and telling stories and finding ways to create connection through everyday stuff is probably one of the easiest ways to market your business. And we actually really pay attention to storytelling. She teaches you how to do it. She has some cool courses, and you'll pay attention to her emails and you'll say, wow, she just told me a story about, getting a coffee. And I was laughing, crying, and now suddenly I'm buying her course on 10 things I can do to supercharge my email list. So it just goes to show you how you can sell using stories. But I love, love, love her list. So her name is Laura Belgray. I'll make sure that Becky has the link. And she's great. She's a copywriter for Marie Forleo's. So she's also, I think, part of B School. I see her emailing about that a lot. And there's another interesting fact about her. Oh, she's the one who taught me basically the strategy behind like Seinfeld-esque emails or soap opera emails, where you write emails that tell stories about nothing like Seinfeld, like a Seinfeld episode. But they're funny and takes you on a journey. And then a soap opera style email, these are all strategies, is leaving the loop open. I watch General Hospital all the time. I don't know. Do you watch soaps, Becky, or no? You're too busy. No.
Sorry.
I've been watching soap operas since I was 12 years old, and Grandma Vera would come over every Wednesday and we would watch General Hospital. Now I watch it with my husband, who's like, hey, you going to watch General Hospital? And I'm like, yes, we're going to catch up. Anyway, if you watch soaps, then or if you're familiar with soaps, there's always an open loop. After every episode, there's always a cliffhanger, which makes you watch the next episode. It doesn't wrap up every episode. There's always a cliffhanger. And this is a strategy that a lot of marketers use in email marketing, where it's like, how can I keep your interest going? And we call it soap opera emails.
I love that. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's cool. It's really cool. Yeah. But listen, as you're on people's email lists, even think about retailers. I get emails from J. Crew pretty much every day.
I knew you were going to mention J. Crew at some point.
I'm on J. Crew's list since the beginning of email marketing. And there's a lot of merit in watching how large brands email their list. Now, you might not do it exactly the same, but I like to think if big corporations are doing something, there's something for us to pay attention to, because they're investing millions of dollars every month in their marketing strategy. And they've got all these smart people, all these experts behind it, all of the budget and the machine and the ideas. What can we kind of like funnel hack or marketing hack from really big businesses and use in our business?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, thank you. I will link. It was Laura Belgray.
Yep.
Is that correct? Okay. I will make sure to link her in the show notes as well. I'm definitely going to sign up for her list.
Oh, that's so good.
I love storytelling stuff. That's like an area that I really want to improve in. So yeah.
Yeah,
awesome.
I love it too. Yeah, I have a storytelling sequence in my emails for anybody who's interested to kind of see the soap opera email strategy. It's called Tales from the Clipboard. And I tell you, really funny, mostly self-deprecating, but occasionally I rag on some past clients from when I was a planner. and tell you some really funny stories like my $2,000 mistake, the time I ruined someone's wedding, my Obama email, which I have not actually written. It's sort of like a cliffhanger and then I never email you again. So I need to talk about the story behind how I had all of Obama's campaign staff in a tent during a tornado.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely need to hear that one.
Yeah. I felt like the fate of the world rested on my shoulders. I mean, clearly, everything was fine, but but it was a very trying, it was a very nerve-wracking moment. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. No pressure. I can imagine. Yeah. Was the $2,000 mistake, was that the one with the U-Haul and like the welcome bags that you had to put together? That was the funny one.
Multiple. I had multiple $2,000 mistakes, just so we're clear. One was with the U-Haul. Another was with some chairs, some wedding chairs, which is a really hilarious story. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if this isn't selling your newsletter, I don't know what will, because
I don't know. I mean, if you're not buying into any of this, I don't know what else to share.
Oh gosh. Okay. So my final question to you is that if someone who is listening right now might feel a little bit hesitant about starting or getting into email marketing, or maybe they are just like overwhelmed because they're like, I don't even know all these terms, which that cheat sheet that you mentioned sounds fantastic. So they should start there. But what is one small action that they could take today to just move in that direction and get started?
Yeah, I think it goes back to just receiving email marketing from other businesses and paying attention to how other people are using email marketing. Because once you start to experience it for yourself, you can identify what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and it gives you examples of things that you can do. I'm not going to lie, it's kind of hard starting anything from scratch when you're a busy business owner and you've got a lot on your plate and you're like, okay, now I have to make more time for this thing. You can very much talk yourself out of it. The best thing to do is to experience it firsthand and just try to see what other people are doing. And the more that you pay attention to it and experience it, I think the more you're going to be motivated to do it for yourself. And maybe something you can do is go back into your inbox and look at the last email that prompted you to do something, that prompted you to buy a shirt off of J. Crew, that prompted you to purchase a course from an educator, that prompted you to click on a link to Becky's podcast. Maybe it was listening to this podcast episode. You were like, I want to hear about this. Go back to the last email that you received in somebody's funnel that prompted you to take action. And ask yourself, what about that email motivated me to do something? And how can I replicate that action by having my own email list and motivating someone on the opposite side to get involved or engaged with me?
Yes, great advice. I think that is a fantastic place to leave it. So thank you so much, Candice. This was amazing. I hope that it inspires, if it inspires one person to go start an email newsletter, or not a newsletter per se, but just to start building up their email list, I think it will be all worth it.
I agree. And listen, if you walk away from this conversation just recognizing that there are more options for you to market your business in a sustainable way outside of just using social media, then I think I count that as a win too. If you see marketing as planting seeds and trying to plant as many seeds as you can in as many places, that's a win too.
Absolutely. So where can my listeners find you and connect with you online?
Oh my gosh, I would love to connect with you guys. You can go to my website, CandiceCoppola.com. I've got all information on if you want to work with me, how we could do that. If you want to check out my podcast, The Power and Purpose. If you want to download some of these great things that we've talked about today, you want to read my blog, I've got lots of things on my website. And my social media of preference is Instagram, but I'm not really posting like a ton of businessy stuff over there. I do a bad job at that, if I'm being totally honest. I like to show up there and just kind of share personal stuff or lifestyle stuff, which I think most people are interested in seeing. So you can find me on Instagram at Candice.Coppola.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you again. I would be remiss if I didn't share that this whole podcast that I am now doing probably wouldn't even be here if it weren't for Candice and Candice's podcast. Yeah, I'm kind of having like a full circle moment where I'm remembering, I don't know exactly when it would have been, but listening just when I like discovered your podcast one day and I was listening. And then on one episode, you mentioned that the doors for WPI were going to be open, or I think I just got on the wait list, but like I got in relatively quickly.
You did.
So I think thinking back to that and then, being a part of WPI for over like almost a year and a half, I think. And then now you're on my podcast. So I just think that that's pretty darn cool.
I think it's freaking great. And I love everything that you're doing. You're creating such a great space for conversation in the wedding industry. I think you have great guests on, and I love the conversations that you're initiating. And if anybody here listening has thought about having Becky as a mentor, I can tell you as her mentor that she is incredible. She has an incredible business. She has amazing ideas. She is so supportive and kind and smart. And so for all planners out there who are looking for somebody to help them with their business, whether you're getting started or you're trying to scale, Becky is such a great resource. And she came to me and said, I want to mentor planners because like, I really want to help people. I love doing this. I've done it kind of in my area, but I'd really love to help more planners. So it's not just something that she wants to do because it's like a revenue stream. If anything, I feel like for you, Becky, you do it because you feel called to support your industry. So she is amazing. You're amazing. And I love what you're doing on the show.
Thank you so much. That
You're
means
welcome.
the world to me. I really appreciate it.
Well, I mean it. I love a little love fest though. So here's a little lesson is tell people who inspire you that they inspire you. And tell people who have helped you in your business that they've helped you. It's always nice to hear.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Such a good reminder. Oh, okay, Candice. Well, I think we will leave it there. We could talk forever, but like I said, maybe we'll have a part 2 sometime. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Event Crushed podcast. I hope you found value in this episode, and if you did, please consider sharing it with a wedding industry friend. We also hope you'll consider leaving a rating or review for the show to help other listeners find it. This podcast is edited and produced by Ace Sound Design. If you're looking to elevate your audio experience, their info can be found in the show description. As always, thank you for listening, and please connect with us on Instagram if you haven't already. Now, get out there and crush it.